I saw this coming because this was episode 1, and now we're in the last episode. So... Hi, hello, welcome to the CIS podcast, the show where we talk about computers, games, and other relevant things, hopefully. And today we have all of the seniors who are in the major here to talk about all of our projects that we've been working on all semester. Well, by all seniors, all but Andy. Andy, you're supposed to be here. What? Why?
7
Come
emails,
on.
man.
Come
7
on,
emails.
so many. You were supposed to. All right, now that we've given him crap. I don't even know where we want to start because
So I guess we should introduce ourselves.
Yeah.
And then I want to go through and just give you just brief synopsis of what your senior project is about. So I'll go ahead because I'm not a senior.
I'm gonna find that summary on mine, and then we can pass around what we wrote.
So if you open up my email from today,
Let's say, and then we just pass it down and we can read it.
Anyway, I'm Mr. Stephen Elliot. I'm the current department chair of the Computer Studies Department here at Emmaus Bible College.
My name is Sam George. I made a cameo in the Halo thing.
Yeah, you did.
My senior project is a game called Save the Coins. It is a synchronous, asymmetrical, cooperative multiplayer game for Android operating systems. I guess I can talk more later, but for now,
Yeah,
just
for now,
it's good.
this
Just
is
keep
brief.
pass along.
Keep it nice
Oh,
and short.
If you need it.
I mean, I was just going to say the video series you're watching right now has been my senior project for the entire semester. It's been both fun and exhausting. And oh, that's your phone, not mine. I guess I was just about ready to pass along. Yeah, but it has been a adventure. So, yeah, that's been my senior project. So.
I didn't realize this was gonna be. I might not have shown up.
Oh, great.
Summary.
Just summary.
My senior project is supposed to be a website that shows you where products are in a store. So you go to Walmart, and every Walmart is different, so you have no idea where the milk is in this Walmart. Well, my website can show you.
Cool.
My website.
Hold on a second. I need to know your name first.
My name is Chris Baker.
And your name was?
Kelly Strandholm.
I've been wondering that for 3.5 years now. Go ahead, Chris.
So tired.
My website is supposed to be a Craigslist website for outdoorsmen ads that are be able to go from just your normal user to user to from anywhere to probably your more company oriented like Shields, Cabela's, or even pawn shops that focus on outdoors, apparel, tents, as well as guns and ammo, which you're not able to sell on Craigslist or Facebook anymore.
Or eBay.
And it's based on Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. LAMP for short.
That was really the focus of your project, was that LAMP stack, getting the entire software package behind a website created.
Yeah. That
Takes a little bit of work.
Yeah, no, that just sounds like a pain. But anyway. So, since we're all the seniors and you're more so...
So before we get too far along this, I don't want to freak anybody out. This is not your senior project presentation. You got your email as to when those are scheduled.
Are you sure?
Yes.
This can't count.
We are recording this. It may impact your grade negatively.
So this episode will be late.
So rather than talking specifically about your projects, I figured we could actually talk about just the senior project in general, the process, what went into planning it and whatnot. So rather than talking,
you want to do that for the video and not like just a meeting before we talk about it in the video?
No, this is that we got to let them in on the secrets.
Yeah, all the secrets.
Because future prospective graduates of Emmaus will want to watch this video and say to themselves, that's what I need to do to succeed at my senior project. Or
that is what we can tell you. Yes, I'm sure.
Or hear our examples, be like, I like that idea. Or, no, sorry, Bob, I'm running away. Goodbye.
Andy's at home working on this project.
Probably.
Probably. I'd rather do this podcast after you guys have turned in your senior projects and after I've graded them, and so you can actually see what you've gotten on.
But I have to edit it, so
it's really
it's an infinite loop.
So we'll never get to the point where we have to turn in those projects because we're caught in this.
So why don't one of you guys really quickly?
I'm wearing such an appropriate shirt for infinite loops.
Anytime you want me, excellent.
Yes.
To make some headway here, Why don't one of you guys just really quickly summarize what is a senior project? Because we've talked about the senior project. You've given a short description of what you did for your project. But if you guys were, in a nutshell, to say, this is what the project is, what would you say?
Can I just real quick, for the first time like ever, give you crap about calling us guys?
Sure, you can do that.
I'm not a guy. Thank you.
You people.
What gender neutral description for
Y'all.
Y'all. So I mean, like, I guess a senior project is supposed to be a big project that you work on for a entire semester that is supposed to show what all you've learned from your time here at Emmaus. So if there's like 3 different like elements, at least for us, it was supposed to cover.
So we've got the 3 tracks in the major, and essentially your chosen track, you have to show a depth of knowledge in that track, and then the other 2 tracks you need to touch on so that we understand the breadth of knowledge that hopefully you've acquired from your non-track electives as well as our intro classes.
Yeah, because I know there's like that networking aspect, which we're not gonna go there. There was what's the other one?
Systems management.
And like just programming.
Programming and design.
Which is, the correct track.
I'm so glad that our seniors know all.
It's been
3
a while
of the
since I've
tracks.
looked at that thing, and I'm like, I feel like I should know it. Just be like, I'm making up for points I don't have in those categories.
So it's kind of a strange thing, but all 5 of our graduating seniors, or our seniors this year who are completing their senior project, are programming and design track students.
Of course.
Because it's the best
Abram
track.
finished in December, and he was a networking and security track. And Stephen Yabini is also networking and security. He's going to finish next December. So, but yeah, you guys are all programming and design.
And the other one was system admin, right?
The other
track?
Yes, the other track, systems management.
Systems management.
Yeah.
Have we ever had anyone graduate with that one?
Well, so realize that the 3-track system is new as of me coming in. We had the 7-track system previous to that.
So that's what Isaac graduated under, and I think he was the last one to do that.
So not systems. Yeah, he graduated under the 7-track system. Yeah. He was in the security track under the 7-track system. When I graduated, I was in the system analyst track, which was the most generic kind of little bit of everything that you can get.
But specifically systems management. Is anybody actually interested
Yes.
in that? Okay.
Oh, yeah. So Nelson Gray, shout out to Nelson Gray. Hope you're watching. Probably not. But he graduated in the MCSE track, which is essentially what the systems management now is. Trying to think back to other people around my time who would have done the LAMP track.
That explains why I'm so against the systems management one.
Because of Nelson?
Oh.
MCSE. What? No. What?
Anyway, okay, so depth, breadth. It's a semester-long project.
Yes.
And what do you guys want to talk about a little bit more as far as what you thought going into it and how you feel about it now?
I feel like going into the project, at least for me, being really interested in like doing videos and trying to kind of sort of like make a half career out of YouTube on the side, since it's not going to be the money that I make from it isn't going to be able to support me fully, so it would be a thing I can do on the side. But after editing many videos that are an hour long or hour and a half and having some issues camera issues, people issues, and like trying to get things scheduled and not want to pull my head out or hair out, both.
Don't pull your head out either.
Nearly had this anyway, but like by the end of it, I'm like, it was a fun series, but like it's a bittersweet kind of like, I'm glad it'll be done, but also kind of not. But yeah, I don't know.
I can't convince Josh to ever do this again.
No, it's not that, but yeah, it's got.
Well, there's a reason a lot of the big YouTubers are solo acts, because it's difficult to get the group together.
Well, yeah, that, and if there are solo acts, they have someone else editing their videos.
Oh yeah,
so that's why like they have the energy to like make 2 videos a day.
Right.
So
you just have to record, and someone else does the thing.
Edits.
Sam, Kelly, Chris, going into your senior project, what were your thoughts?
Like when you were asked, like describing what it is, capstone's the buzzword that all of the peoples are using, or practicum too, I suppose.
That's right.
Yeah. So my thought was this would be a chance for me to kind of have fun with the programming knowledge, because I know there was supposed to be the breadth of stuff, I did not go intentionally with my plan, this is how I will hit the breadth. I, in fact, wanted to avoid networking and any kind of system setup, if at all possible.
And you landed in probably the most intense networking situation of any of the senior projects this year.
Right, I'm not doing the website, and I had to do bit shifting to make my... I have Android devices. These two specifically were my test devices. Quick review. This is the second cheapest tablet you can get on Amazon. It works fine, but the default language was Danish. So be aware.
Oh no!
To get them to talk to each other, I had to deal with the specifics of TCP that I did not think I would have to ever deal with. Gross. But once I figured it out, it was all better.
Gross. TCP is an elegant solution.
Well,
to that.
It was.
No, because the way you make it sounds like, yes, we touched on it. No, he didn't go into super in depth about it, and
Oh no! See, that's the thing. I was taught all the knowledge I needed to know in order to do this. I just didn't think I'd ever have to actually use it.
Yeah.
So I didn't know why that guy, who is now walking around the room, taught us this stuff, but apparently he thought it would matter, and then it did.
All the face that he's giving us as he's walking back.
It's like I know what I'm talking about a little bit.
Just a wee bit.
Just a wee bit. Yeah, so that's been something interesting for me. It's interesting to realize, remembering my time as a student, I took the classes that I thought sounded interesting, the ones that I wanted to take. Yeah. And Mark Woodhouse and Arthur Manning, who were my professors at the time, kept telling me, no, you have to take database management, and no, you have to take systems analysis and design. And I don't want to take those. And they finally got me to take them by saying, you don't take the classes, you don't graduate. Okay, fine.
That's quite the trump card.
I'll take those classes.
Quite the trump card.
But the reality is, having graduated from Emmaus, I now know what's actually useful, and I know, I needed to know those things. And so systems analysis and design is my favorite example. I hated that class. No offense to Mr. Manning, but I hated systems analysis and design.
There's plenty of hate that can go to the book.
I feel like we can all say no offense to Mr. Manning, because
it's a rough class because it's more of a project management class.
Without the project.
Without a project to manage.
Yeah.
And so I went into it thinking that it was like, we're going to be building computer systems, we're going to have so much fun, and it turned out to be documentation and diagramming, which you guys all hate. And I was in the same boat as you guys of I hate this. And I got to my master's program, and I ended up turning to that textbook and the stuff that I learned in that class for 8 of my 11 master's classes. And all the stuff that I learned in that class was directly applicable to the stuff that I was doing in my master's class. Yeah. And so I've now learned that they know what they're talking about. And I feel like I'm in the same boat now. Yeah. So I say, you guys have to take these classes. I don't want to take those classes. You guys have to take these classes because in reality, these are the things that you're going to need to know.
One of those
why do we have to be told this just before we're graduating?
So that you can look back and say, it does all make sense.
Can I reevaluate my major?
I'm not.
It might be too late.
What would you change, Kelly?
No.
What would you do differently?
She doesn't like this question.
If you could go back to your sophomore year, so freshman's out of the way, you've got logical analysis and fundamentals out of the way, what would you do differently?
I wouldn't take Ruby as an independent study.
Okay.
First of all. I wouldn't take C++ again, second of all.
You're already taking C++,
what classes would you take in their place?
Other programming languages.
Okay.
Lisp.
Because I went through my entire college career feeling like I haven't learned any new programming language that I didn't learn in high school. And I would have tried to get out of Visual Basic.
Okay. You didn't like it? You took it with me, right?
Yeah, but I also had it in high school.
Okay.
So it was just a review.
A lot of review.
I will say that with the programming languages, because they're all object-oriented programming languages very closely related to each other, there is a certain redundancy that you start to notice. So Visual Basic is meant to be an intro programming course. So you need to go over the basic stuff, and then at the very end, you might get into some class structure. But that's the same thing that happened in Java and the same thing that happened in C++, essentially. As opposed to like a saying, okay, you learned how expressions and loops and stuff work in Visual Basic, right? Okay, so we can hop up to here.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you have to establish this is how you do it in You learn that in
the
Visual Basic. Now
syntax.
this is the syntax for this language.
Yeah.
That was one of the issues with C++.
Yeah, like that's my issue because
didn't
like
learn the
like Java
syntax,
and
or-
C++.
It wasn't presented as early on as it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we had
Could've been
like
helpful.
the survey of the history of C first.
Yeah, yeah, but like I think that was my problem was that because I think I was taking Java and C++ at the same time, and so they were both very similar. And
yes.
so trying to tell the difference between the two, and I'm like, it feels like there isn't much difference, but there is, and trying to keep them both separate was
Having a
slight
syntax
struggle.
card for each.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And a good auto-completing IDE. Like Visual Studio is really good at like you're probably going to say this, right?
probably mean that.
And then you can, and then it can finish, and like so if you want to have a switch case thing, like you start typing switch and it can just make the whole like skeleton thing
and then
for
at
you.
least,
It's great.
Like, was Qt able to do that, or
Qt wasn't very autocomplete.
yeah?
So-
I don't remember it being very autocomplete, but
Cute, yes, right. Well, that's what I always thought it was called before I came here, and you started
That's
calling
what
it
the
Qt.
website said it was supposed to be called.
Yeah.
Cute. I mean, it makes sense.
cute.
I always used Visual Studio for C++, so I haven't used Qt too much, or Qt, or Qt.
Whatever it's called.
Whatever it is. Some good feedback. Yeah. In hindsight, I did C++ and Java at the same time, hoping that it would give you some breadth of experience. But I think a lot of students struggled with having them at the same time.
Yeah.
So I've now scheduled them alternating. So you take one of them one year and then you take the next
Well, that's
one.
it's like the breadth is in the syntax, and the syntax isn't where the learning really happens. Like the syntax is required for you to do the learning.
So that's actually a question that has been debated. I guess I'll throw it out to you guys just to see what your thoughts on it now that you're coming through this program. So the debate is whether we should produce generalists or specialists. Should we give you guys 5 or 6 programming languages to learn throughout your time at Emmaus, or should we focus on developing a C++ programmer and take C++1, C++2, and then advanced graphics with C++ and do all 3 of them?
I am
Looking at job applications, I'm seeing a lot of variety. And they're asking for this one over here, and this one over here, and this one over here.
Yeah.
And I'm going, I know VB and C++.
Okay.
And I think that's why I'm having a hard time trying to answer that question, is because like it is nice to have a specialist who knows extremely well how to do this one language with like its ins and outs and like way beyond whatever anyone could think of. But on the same note, it's also nice to have a generalist, so like they have a wide knowledge of like everything. So if you're like, hey, I need a program written in this language, got it. Hey, I need a program written in this other language, got it. Not just if you have that same problem going to the specialist, they'd be like, sorry, I only know C++.
So my thinking is that like I said, we do VB, Java, C++, and we have a script like the scripting
languages, Python,
too.
PHP,
And well,
one of those.
it's the thing about the first 3 is they're all very similar structurally. Like there's differences and there's things you can do in one that you can't do in another. But I think another problem is like whoever the hiring manager is at the company, they might not know that. They might have been handed a list and by someone who was techie and said, if they know Java, C++, whatever, that'd be good. And hiring manager doesn't know that's essentially the same thing. So if someone says, like, if you give them a list of, say those 3 and C and maybe Python, and someone comes to them and says, I can do graphics programming directly with OpenGL and C++, and I know PHP.
Yeah.
Then
A lot of mumbo jumbo if you don't know what any of that means.
well, yeah, that's and the hiring manager says they know one of the 5 languages here. No.
Yeah.
Now it's a reality, but I think the person who knows a depth of this kind of thing and then a depth of something like PHP or some more like something that's specifically backend on servers, like I think in that regard the diversity would be better. I understand why we take C++ and Java because those are the popular things, but I think a person would become a more versatile, more useful programmer by taking C++ and then taking something different, like taking scripting language or taking PHP. Yeah.
You can go either way. I think specialist probably better, and it wouldn't be like it's impossible to be a specialist with PHP and with Java or C++. You can do both, and it doesn't take too too much to be a specialist with SQL or something like that. So I think either way, I mean, you can be a specialist with multiple languages.
No, you can't be a specialist with multiple things, because a
'Cause,
specialist
like,
knows more and more about less and less until they know absolutely everything about nothing.
I stand corrected.
I had to take a second to process that statement. Just a little bit like, wait, hold up.
They know
No,
what now?
that's accurate.
And a generalist
And just
knows less and less
About everything.
less about
more
everything.
until they know nothing about everything.
Yes.
I got like half of that quote before. I was like, nope, I give up and try to say the rest of that.
I feel like this being our undergrad, doing the general is a better idea, because then we can always go on to our masters and specialize with that. I mean, not that I'm planning on doing that or anything.
And so I'll tell you my personal philosophy. My personal philosophy is to learn as many languages as you can, the differences between them, because as you enter the workforce, you may start as a C++ programmer or as a PHP programmer or web designer, but the reality is the more versatile you are, the more jobs you can move to. And that was the case with me. I was, while I didn't want to be, I ended up in software development. And my first job was in C++. And then my second job was in Bash scripting and awk. Completely different than C++. All scripting languages, not at all object-oriented. And then from there I went into IDL and C, and from there I went into Python. And so almost every 6 months I was in a different programming language. And so that being my experience and kind of seeing the way that other people are getting into jobs, trying to make you guys more marketable candidates, a lot of your learning will happen on the job. I can give you the foundation and I can even make you a good programmer, but you're never going to be a great C++ programmer until you've been involved in a 3-year-long 10-person project that really tests your skills. So that's my personal philosophy, and being the department chair.
That is what is used in the planning, of course. Well, I
like your guys' feedback. So
Well, I will say this as far as the generalist diversification. I do appreciate that we took. Now, I did not enjoy all of the networking or the hardware stuff, but I guess I have exposure to it. That it's kind of hard to market something like I understand net masking well enough to make it to contribute to a existing library. And make it better. But that's what I had to do for this project. And it's nice to have the bits of knowledge and be able to put together a computer or something like that. Even though hardware is his favorite class.
That's right. That's right. It is.
Which I mean, on the subject of hardware, I feel like I may have mentioned this when we did the hardware podcast, where I had never actually built my own computer, gotten into that in depth of what all makes up a computer. And so that was my first time building a computer. It was in that class and breaking it down to all its parts and whatnot. So
even as I was building the computer in that class, I was thinking to myself and saying it out loud frequently, my brother built a computer, I don't need to.
I've got somebody to do this for me.
My brother's experiences are
different.
My experience.
Vicariously living through your siblings?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
Hence the whatever it was instead of Notepad++. I forget what it was called.
Sublime
Sublime
Yes.
text, yeah. The 4 intro classes, my intent with those are twofold. Number one, of course, to give you guys some experience in all of the areas, because I've run into some programmers, I won't name any names, you know who you are out there, run into programmers who don't know a thing about hardware. And that doesn't compute in my head. How can you be a good programmer and not know why memory or RAM in your computer is important? And that's fundamental to where you're storing your variables. So, or networking and security ideas. If I'm going to make a network application, a website, and I don't understand how networking or how security topics work in general, that just doesn't compute in my mind. So that's number one, get you some breadth of knowledge. But also, we have a lot of students who come in who have no clue what they want to do with computers. That they don't know if they
should do programming. If that's you out there.
You should do programming. The reason there's 4 intro classes is so that you can try your hand at programming, at networking and security, and at systems management, and see which one you like best.
What? Oh, and then the other one's logical analysis.
So 4 classes. We have Visual Basic, which is the intro to programming and design. networking and security, intro to networking and security, and then intro to OS, which is the introduction to systems management. And then hardware is its own class because it encompasses a lot of networking and systems management as well. And it's the physical thing that all of those disciplines are working with. So while it doesn't lead directly into a track, which many of the students that come here kind of wish that we had a hardware track where we just built gaming computers all day long. Unfortunately,
I can think of some people who would be glad to have that as their own its own thing.
Systems management is as close to that as you'll get. But.
I recently experienced what we've been talking about, how these other things are essential. I had a phone interview the other day, and for a web development job, and the guy who was interviewing me saw on my application that I'd had a networking class. I don't even remember why I put that down, but I did. And
instant regret.
he asked me, "What did you learn in that class?" And I went, network cables. What else? So my response was, I'm sure I learned a lot. I just don't
remember it. Right?
I don't remember it. It doesn't register as, oh yeah, that's networking. I learned that in my networking class.
Yeah.
Like after you take survey and it's like, like,
so
I didn't know that.
When I think through it, I think, okay, network cables is the first thing that comes to mind when I think networking. But then I think, Wi-Fi 802.11 and networking system, and this is how it all works together, and this is how packets are sent, and then it makes a little bit
and all the necessary parts to build.
Can I put you on the spot real quick, Kelly? Okay. And if this goes terribly wrong, Josh can just cut it out. What's the difference between a switch and a router?
And a router?
It's my favorite question to ask people.
I know the difference between a switch and a hub.
Oh, okay, that'll work too. Go for a switch and a hub.
Little hub or little
capital H or little
capital H hub versus switch.
The capital H hub, it doesn't send it down specific ports. The switch can say, oh, I know that this IP address is on this port. I'll send it down this way and not the other ones. Whereas a hub just says, everyone gets this. Happy birthday.
And that helps you understand what goes wrong when people start complaining about the Wi-Fi at Emmaus.
Because the Wi-Fi is a hub. Yep. So you were so close. You said IP address when you meant MAC address. But you knew it. So cool. Very
MAC
good.
address,
Very good.
IP address.
Same thing.
Layer.
He was waiting for it.
Layers.
Yeah, I was gonna say
OSI layers. You know that.
It gets the IP address, asks for the MAC address.
Through a
ARP?
There it is. ARP request.
But he's the poor guy that has to remember what bits
maybe
that
I'll tell my interviewer, look at this video. I talked a little bit more about my knowledge.
It's hard to do stuff like that on the spot. And when we were interviewing for IT directors, that was one of my favorite questions to ask the people I was interviewing.
Wait, what's the difference between a router
between a router and a switch?
Pretty.
And you knew immediately. So like Mark Newland, who is our IT director, he immediately was like, well, a switch filters things based on MAC addresses, and a router routes between networks using IP addresses, and you can have a layer 2+ or a layer 2. And he just went into this explanation. I was like, this is my guy.
That sounds like Mark Newland.
Everything that I asked him. I'm so glad that. So Mark, if you're watching this, I am so thankful that you're here. Thank you for interviewing well. And I had other interviewees. I think there was one in particular. I asked what's the difference between a router and a switch, and his was a router routes traffic and a switch turns traffic on or off. No. Okay, let's move on to operating systems. Not so much, but anyway. So let's get back to our senior projects for a little bit. So going into it, kind of hard to figure out breadth and demonstrating the depth of your particular knowledge. You guys all chose programming related topics because you're in program, though Josh, yours is more of a design project.
Mine's more design heavy since that seems to be my specialty.
Well, it worked. Good for you.
Everything else.
We're happy to be here.
I predicted that from day one, Josh.
Yeah.
You were the Mac user when we asked in the first stage, Josh. That was...
Yeah. Is that worth getting into, just very briefly? Because,
go for it.
Within the first few days, we always play that game, so are you Mac or Windows? And, just about every piece... Vice versa, same tomato. We're all dead.
So Linux users would be very unhappy with you.
They just go like this. Fools.
All right. So Mac or
As if
PC.
there were
So
only
Mac or
two
PC.
options.
And like everyone goes around the room and says like,
one.
I'm PC. You have like the very few who are like Linux or whatever, and then
Yeah, it's
me
like,
I am a Mac, and everyone's like, how dare you? And I'm just like, well, for someone who does like a lot of design and like Photoshop and is like wanting to get into video, like I like what Mac has to offer. And I always get the arguments from people like, you can do the same thing on a Windows, and I'm like, I mean, some of the software I've used like that is available is cheaper
I will throw
like,
that
on a Mac, and I just don't have the money for all these bigger, expensive software like $10 a month software that you can have on Windows.
I'll throw this out there. For the design part of my project, I had to use GIMP because I'm a Windows user, and I really miss Photoshop from when I had access to Photoshop.
You don't have to use GIMP. You can use Photoshop
you can.
on Windows.
Right, but GIMP was free,
Yeah.
and it didn't come packaged with my $2,000 computer.
Yeah.
It was downloaded for free on my $1,000 computer.
Photoshop doesn't come free on Mac.
No, like that was literally like one of my Christmas presents from forever ago. It was like I paid for part of it, my parents paid for other part, and it was like basically the only thing I got.
Yeah.
But like I was very well aware of that because I had seen some of my other friends in high school like do all this Photoshop work, and I became like very interested in like the manipulation of photos and like how to make them look different. Granted, like anymore now, I just use them for my YouTube thumbnails. And the very rare like, hey Allison, you know what I'm talking about. Every time you're like, hey, can you make me a birthday invite? Yeah, those are the other times. But hey, it helps build my portfolio. So, and it's been fun experiences making those.
So I want to circle back to senior
what was the question?
So I was going to ask, speaking in broad terms, not necessarily a specific instance, but what did you find to be the hardest part of the senior project? Was it coming up with the idea, executing the idea?
So many things because like, I mean like.
It's a hard project.
Well, it is. Well, okay, because I know when we were first introducing like, hey, you need to come up with a thing that you can work on for an entire semester. I had no idea, and then I was kind of like one of the last few to like, leave the room, and you're like, and you were talking with me, and you're like, I have an idea for you. What if we do a weekly podcast for the major, and like. Me feeling like so relieved that like that could be a thing, feeling like I don't know, like really
little
from
did
like
you know.
like a little did I know of like, oh, I should have included more of my knowledge of networking, should have included all of my or attempted to show knowledge in other things, knowing that like programming isn't my strong suit, or some of the other aspects of the computer major aren't necessarily my strong suit, but knowing that like being handed this video project was like, that I can do and we'll make it work. I have no idea how on earth this suffices as a senior project, but he suggested it, so I'm not going to question anything. But no, coming up with an idea was hard.
Okay. Chris, hardest part?
I'm not the brightest individual, so picked something that I haven't did before, like PHP, or worked with Apache web server. So, trying to learn a language while doing a senior project was probably you walk out and then you really find out how deep the waters are. That's what I did.
I think Kelly can sympathize with that a little bit. The more you know you don't know. Man, I'm just full of the dad wisdom tonight. Goodness.
You said you're not the brightest individual. I'm right there with you, Chris. I did the same exact thing. Learning how to combine PHP into HTML. I didn't even know that was a thing. And then trying to communicate with MySQL at the same time.
See, I should have known.
YouTube.
I should have known that at least PHP and HTML went together because of my little bit of background with web design and like just perusing the back end of what makes a website, and like only being like dig far enough that I can do what I need to do and understand this small little section so I can add in my thing, but not necessarily understand how the entirety of it works. But now being able to like going to be in an HTML class next semester, and being in PHP right now, like I can now kind of see like the bigger picture and like at least get the idea of how everything is supposed to piece together. Whether or not I can do it solidly from memory is a different story.
Sam, hardest part?
I'd say time allocation. So that's not just like getting myself to work on it, because I do enjoy programming, and I was doing Android, which I've worked with Android Studio before. But the nature of the project is just there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and you can't focus on everything at once. So I have a character moving around, so I can focus on making the character, feel smooth, because that's what all the game feel, all the videos talk about. They talk about Mario's jump. Everybody talks about Mario's jump and how important it is that it's just so. So I can focus on trying to get like the motion good, because if it doesn't feel good to play, but then I'm not working on the networking. I may not even be working on the collision detection or level design, or when your friend tells you about Save the Coins, which he will, I am sure, you will meet...
Kelly, save the coins.
You will meet Theo. Theo is the main character. Theo is a blue box with 2 white eyes that are designed doing Theo 4.
I was going to say, please tell the story of how you came up with the name.
I've heard this story, but it's still so great.
It's still so great every time.
So Theo is the main character, and the reason he's just a box with eyes is because design is not my strong suit, and could Theo probably be more than that? Yes, but I wanted to put time into other things. So plans of creating this nice little even simple pixel guy in GIMP. Well, we have Theo. And his eyes move around and follow your finger, which I think is kind of cool. But I couldn't put a lot of time into the aesthetics of it, because I was working on the game feel and the networking and getting the thing to work.
Having your device,
I'm sure that the people who created Angry Birds were planning on better birds than just random balls of different color. But hey, they ended up with random ball sizes of different color
and different shapes.
And we have Angry Birds.
Triangular.
So if I make Theo change colors, ooh.
Well, no, you have to have different characters. So you have Theo, and then you have Leo, who's a smaller character and can fit through doors differently.
He's now red.
And he's red.
I wasn't.
No, yellow. Leo has to be yellow.
I wasn't going to tell you about
yeah.
pen test, because I thought you might be upset.
About pen test?
Pen test.
What about pen test?
Well, Theo was named after the character design in
Theo
Theo 4.
The character you created. Took me way too long.
Yeah.
I was like, what about... Oh, okay, I see where you go.
He's not in the final product, but...
He can be.
He's a feature. Cool. Okay. All right. Well, let's get away from senior project. I've got a couple other questions for you guys to talk about, and I'm looking forward to your guys' presentations later this week. So.
We're not.
I don't know about that.
It'll be great. But I did want to ask you some general, since you guys are seniors and you'll be moving on here shortly. What was your favorite computer class at Emmaus?
Good distinction.
Yes, and I said computer specifically. We can, if we have got some time, I can ask about non-computer.
class.
But favorite computer class at Emmaus?
What was the most recent one that I took with you?
The most recent one that you took with me, did you
System troubleshooting,
take
wouldn't it be?
System troubleshooting last semester. That was your least favorite, I recall.
No, the hardware was my least favorite.
Oh.
Everyone in the school knew hardware was awful. I was talking with friends I didn't even know I expressed that feeling towards, and they knew.
I'm so sorry.
I talked about it a lot.
Well, it's just because Dan builds computers.
Man, I don't know.
Intro to Unix.
Intro to Unix, favorite class?
Favorite class.
It's a little bit discouraging that you guys have such a hard time coming up with a favorite class.
Well, okay, but I feel like any classes I've had, like, that you've taught, like, I've enjoyed, but, like, I liked each of the classes for different reasons, though. Like, I mean, hardware I liked because, like I said, I had never touched, like, building a computer at all, and that was interesting to me. And also the people in that class, because that's where a lot of good inside jokes came from.
Yes. It was our coping mechanism.
Like, I will say, though, like, intro, in a weird way, I feel like Intro to Unix has a, like, weird special place in my heart, just because, like...
You know what? I can see that too, actually.
Well, no, because...
To a certain extent.
Okay, because, like, I feel like I was the underdog going into, like, a lot of this, where, like, I felt like at least you had a lot of, like, programming experience coming in. I had none of that. Like, I like bare minimum HTML, like, knowledge. And
you could make stuff bold.
But then starting scripting with that, and then, like, you being able to, like, take the time to, like, okay, obviously this guy's, like, a visual learner. Like, I'm trying to do whatever I can to help him understand like this is what needs to happen. Even if, like the one I very specifically remember is like, I don't even remember what the script was, but it's taking like a few sheets of paper, be like, okay, so this needs to happen here. Well, now it has to move. So so now this becomes this, and move it over. Like, I don't remember what the script or what it was supposed to do, but I do very specifically. One? I don't remember if it was that one, but I do specifically remember that example though.
Yeah, I think we were just working with variables. It might have even been the polygon. The polygon nightmare.
For all I knew, for all I know, it could have been that one. But and for all I know, like could have been like one of the like late night like, hey, if anyone needs help, I'll be in the computer lab. With all you guys like crying over your computers, like I can't do this.
Yes. About that. Yes, the polygon.
I just want to say, I've used Vi in my senior project.
Score!
I told you.
Score!
No, so the last time I used Vi, it was in pen testing, and I didn't realize that the command I put in would bring up Vi. I was remoting into a system through Metasploit, and I brought up a text editor, and I was just hoping for like Nano or something reasonable, and it booted me into Vi. And like, Vi doesn't work over the connection because some of the commands that you use get caught by your remote host. And so it can't actually use. So once Vi opened, I literally could not get out.
No.
It was awful.
Escape key doesn't work.
No, it was terrible. I mean, because Vi generally is terrible. You know, I am actually
gonna have a short rant about this and then get back on track.
Since I'm doing Clojure now, I enjoy Emacs. I never thought I would say this. Emacs, Mr. Manning.
Oh my gosh.
For you.
What was the Vi similar one that we found that was better than Vi?
So Vim.
Vim was the other one.
Yeah.
Oh
Vim
yeah,
was so nice.
But no,
then you told us you can't use it.
But no, like Emacs. It's
evil little.
Emacs. It's not bimodal. It has just
that.
functions, and then you in the function. It can slope in, and this is the term. I think it's both out the parentheses to move around stuff. It's really nice.
No.
It's not Vi.
No, like I do remember like when we were first getting into like Vi, and you're like la-di-da, I'm typing, and everyone else is like, I can't type.
I know, it's like it's not typing.
So, like that was like a whole intro, like, okay, this is how it works. You hit I to start typing, and then all these other things that you're gonna want to do naturally, like command or I'm referencing my Mac. Control C to copy, and no, that like exits all the things, and it just ruins all the stuff you're trying to work on. And
so
that's my default. Or something's going wrong, Control C.
And that closes it. So I have a set of step-by-step instructions, keystroke by keystroke, on how to instruct somebody how to use Vi for the first time.
That might be why I felt like I.
But as soon as you deviate from it,
everything goes wrong.
You're so lost. So you've got to do type, enter,
I guess I'll say, like moving back to the question on favorite class. But I mean, it's kind of like Josh said in that there's different things you enjoy about different ones. So like Unix, lots of new stuff. It was satisfying getting the Arch installation to working. As in hardware and networking, it was a bonding experience for the people in the class very much, and it was exposure to a lot of new stuff. But the reason I program is because largely I've liked playing around with it, and I gotta say, I think leveraging might have been the one that made it easiest to play around.
Okay.
If only because HTML is one of the simplest, like HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Like you change stuff and you can see the results immediately.
Yeah.
You can get something up and going really quickly. Whereas in any programming class, if you think, "Oh, I want to try this," you need to get your boilerplate stuff going just for the program to run.
Okay.
But yeah, so I'd agree with the different things. Yeah. But I do have fond feelings for Intro to Unix. Yeah. Like it's hard to describe why.
Weird special,
wow. Like 3 out of 4. Kelly.
I don't have that weird. I mean, I appreciated it, but actually, I appreciated hardware. Looking back, I appreciate now hardware class more than I did Unix.
Okay.
Because just today I went to a video game store and I was able to communicate with the people there what kind of a laptop I have.
I have an A10 from 5 years ago. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Literally what I told them.
Yeah.
No, I think my favorite class was either system troubleshooting or Visual Basic.
Wow, I am pleasantly surprised
Yeah.
to find that Intro to Unix and System Troubleshooting were
Like,
mentioned at all, because I feel like those were the classes that you guys hated the most.
Oh, like, okay, like Intro to Unix, like
touched.
I remember being like super frustrating, like just trying to figure out how to make this simple thing happen, but like in some weird way, it's like most memorable. Like I can remember back to in System Troubleshooting, like making our projects and having to write a user manual for like pretending like you're handing this off to some complete idiot who doesn't know what they're doing, or you have someone who enjoys being a complete idiot and trying to do your thing.
Yes, that was in Sistro.
Either that, or you know, you make a project and the whole point of it is that it doesn't work. Erico. The other class I can think of is like I remember like networking like not being like being kind of tough, but like so the class itself maybe wasn't as enjoyable, but like having the opportunity to like go physically like have the hands-on experience was definitely interesting to like see how it all works and like how you would logically like actually make it go from point A to point B instead of just like making it on a flat map.
Yeah,
you really do learn like a lot of stuff. Oh yeah, the networking project, like that was really fun.
Yeah,
like
making a network.
And it was something that I would have no concept of what that would even look like before I did it.
Kelly's like,
well, I did.
You broke me again.
I did the video game convention, so that was part of the fun.
And Josh actually got to go on 2 of our actual like off-campus networking projects, which was I don't think the other.
The one was Michigan. What was the other one?
Well,
my house.
Oh yeah,
we did
at my house.
Well, we did lots of punch down. Well, me and Kelly had already done.
Oh my word! Punch down.
You guys did the lab. We did the wiring in the lab.
Yeah,
that was okay.
I was trying to hunt down that photo like maybe like a week ago, and I couldn't find it. Like I know I posted it somewhere. I don't remember where. Yeah. I don't remember if it's in my OneDrive. Like I moved to my Dropbox. I don't know if I posted it on Facebook or on Twitter or where the crap I posted it, or if it was on Snapchat. If it was on Snapchat, it's long gone. But either way.
Yeah. So for all the talk about enjoying these different things, I also discovered during my time here and my like 3 hours in one of these networking rooms manually numbering all of them. He's coming up with a picture about what, like when we cabled stuff, but like just sitting there and putting numbers on all of them. I had an audiobook going. It was warm. It was miserable. And I really like programming. Like the Unix was fun, the networking was fun, Sistro was fun, but I like programming.
Yeah.
So I had 2 pictures of you guys working on them, and I don't have them on the phone, but
like I know I had like a very short video of it somewhere where I was just like, for all I know, it was on Snapchat where like I had sent it to my girlfriend at the time, and it was like, see what we're doing? We're tearing up the floor and running.
Oh yeah, we got to use the sucky thing. That's fun. The sucky thing's fun.
All the way to that large black cabinet over in the corner.
Yeah, no, that was fun. All right, let's. So favorite class, we've kind of covered that.
Yeah.
Absolute least favorite class.
Intro to Unix.
I mean, he did say.
I completely understand Chris's sentiment on answering that one both ways. So, yeah, it was a great class, that at the same time, and so you were the student who I feel like put in the most work in that class, because you had a really hard time at the beginning of it, and so you made up for it by doing the extra credit, and I was merciless with extra credit.
We all 4 had the same Unix class, right?
Yeah,
I believe so.
Mm-hmm. So I offered extra credit, but it was like an hour's worth of work to get 1% towards your final grade. And I think, Chris, you did like all of that. I think you did like 20% worth of extra credit. It was like 20 hours of programming.
I remember those.
On those Project Euler scripts, which, oh man.
Start dreaming about it. Dreaming about programming and vibes.
Yeah.
It's weird.
But you persevered and you did very well. You know, came out of it much better. No. Kelly, least favorite class, hardware?
It's a toss-up now.
Okay. Now that we've convinced you it was actually good for you.
During the time, I hated it. I told everyone I hated it. Everyone knew I hated it. But now I'm thankful for knowing what DDR4 is and all that.
Dance Dance Revolution version 4.
Yes.
Yes, totally.
Joke got old second time, but we kept saying it.
It was old before it started. Sorry, Kelly, go ahead.
It's like British humor.
Ooh.
Oh man. now I'm wearing the shirt with the, never mind, I can't words anymore.
So hardware was a toss-up between...
Sad.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I was this close to crying in that class. I never got close to crying in your class. I was this close to crying in that class. And I only didn't cry in the class because it was so awful.
Yeah, like...
It was so bad that I got past the point of I need to cry to just... I'm done.
That almost
I'm
makes
done.
me cry right here.
No, I think I can be in that same boat where sad may have been like one of my least favorite, just because because I have because of the mentality I had where I'm like, it's really hard to be planning for a non-existent project or for like, I feel like it would have been helpful if said project actually existed. So like you kind of can see like, okay, if this happens and that happens, then like this is where we're gonna be.
It's easier to design use cases for a project that exists, or
instead
a
of just trying
diagram.
to like imagine it. And because I do a lot of overthinking, so like I'm just gonna be thinking of all the different ways it could go when you just need one.
Like I feel
for
like
your
at the
case.
very least, like with programming, you have these example problems that you're supposed to do. You're supposed to program this program.
Rabbits.
It might have been nice to have that where we did smaller things where, okay, this is the scenario you're given. Now make a use case and see how it matches against what you're supposed to make. Because when we learned use cases, we had no idea what we were doing.
Yeah, no, also telling you knowing the difference between all of the things was really frustrating, because like I know we were just trying to like ask everyone else who had taken that class, like, what is this? What is it that he wants for this thing? And then like we had already made like diagrams for what we thought was right, and then we're being told, no, that's not what it's supposed to be.
Oh no.
Yeah, so
Basically.
yeah, no doubt, sad.
Oh,
and
man.
I'd say a large part of it, and this relates to the not like the distinguishing different things, is the jargon. Like I know we're computer majors, so like when we talk about some things, people who aren't in on the know don't get it. But this, like, a lot of the sad stuff is business jargon, and
Yeah.
I appreciate the business majors. I appreciate them more now.
Oh, yeah.
But it was like we were coming to a 300 or 400 level class in a different course of study suddenly, because there was these terminology, and sure we had the chance to use them. You know, it would get defined here, but it clearly wasn't meant to. This book didn't seem like it was geared to teaching all the lower level, like all this the basic stuff. Like here's what we're talking about when we talk about project management.
Okay.
And
SDLC and
it's like, and it was just, you know,
software development lifecycle.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Move on. Pretend we all know what that means.
yeah. So it's these terms that you know you can get a concept of them as taking the class, but it didn't seem geared to teaching it. It was a class that felt like it was trying to be a practicum for something that we hadn't learned yet.
Okay.
And it was.
So do you guys had the disadvantage of taking system troubleshooting at the same time that you were taking systems analysis and design, where future students will take system troubleshooting the year before they take SAT. Do you feel like that would have helped a little bit?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. No, I don't think. Well, systems,
I don't think it make a difference.
It's an essentially different approach to a system. Like SAD, the system doesn't exist. In our case, the concept for the system didn't even exist at the beginning of the semester. We had to come up with it as we were going. Whereas in Systro, like when we would come in and you'd say, "This little guy isn't working. Fix him."
Yeah.
Then
like,
we have something to use to work on.
Okay.
But yeah.
But we did diagramming and things like that, so I was hoping there was a little bit of crossover.
Yeah, but
I mean, we did learn what use cases were from you.
I do remember
some
that.
of the diagramming I
do
learned
remember
better from you than from
going back to the class that we don't like. I can see the whole thing like with SAD, like the class itself we didn't like, but just as long as we have like the general understanding of like documentation is important, and when you do it, be as extensive as possible. Like I think that's the main thing to get out of it. Like specifics is what the class is for, but we're just frustrating.
Yeah.
But just know that when you have to document something, do it thoroughly.
I mean, it did. Sorry.
Go ahead, Kelly.
The funny thing is, When I was in high school trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, my favorite subjects were math and English. So my dad suggested I write a math textbook and make it interesting. So I came into this documentation class thinking, oh, I can do this. Yeah, that's something I was actually interested in, helping people understand how to do this. Not anymore.
Yeah.
No way do I want to have to write how to use a program, or I mean, I can't
I've
now.
ruined
But
documentation for you.
no, I realized I'm not as good at it as I thought I was.
The weird thing is, I'll let you say thing.
I was just going to say it's not my fault. That's all that's...
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Bill.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, the weird thing is the way you described, like, oh, I'm good with this, good with that, like, or saying, hey, you should write a math textbook because you'd make more enjoyable. I had that same mindset when I creating my second channel, like my tutorial channel, where I'm like, there's so many boring tutorials out there. I'm going to set, like, boring or outdated. I'm going to set out to make them more interesting and updated.
And not using random music with notepad typed instructions on the side.
That's visible on the screen.
All the cringe.
Well, I think with the documentation, or you say like make a fun math textbook as opposed to what we did in SAD and a bit in Sistro, it's one of the reasons I like programming is it's in many ways very pragmatic. Like, you get something to run, and you might come up with some clever solution, but as long as you put a comment there that kind of explains what you did, it's all good. But there's many ways to the same destination. If this doesn't work, you can try something else. There is some way to make it work. But with the documentation, particularly the way it's presented by that textbook, is this is the way documentation should be. Your goal is not to help someone understand. Your goal is to put in these, like, not necessarily, like, that's the end goal of the steps process, and these are all the things you have to include. But where a paragraph probably could have done, there is instead that paragraph and a diagram.
And a picture.
Yeah, and some more things along with it. And
then a very, very self-explanatory picture with an explanation underneath it.
Right. Yes. And sometimes related to things that don't really matter to they're not going to matter to the end user. Or like, well, I guess that's the thing. Like, so Sistro not so much, but the documentation in SAD is for people. It's going to people in budgeting, it's going to management people. So while I can appreciate in Sistro that you're trying to explain stuff to someone that doesn't have a background knowledge, like I can appreciate that, like I do here. I like helping people understand stuff. But in SAD, it was like I'm explaining this project to someone, they don't care about most of this. They care, like, evidently, because of the way it's presented, they care about how much money it's going to bring in, how much money it's going to cost, and like how much time is it going to take. And so like all those like class diagrams and stuff that are inside it, I'm thinking, who's going to look at this? Who cares? Like the programmers are going to be given this plus I know as a programmer, like if I give someone this document, they're going to think, I mean, I can do that, or I could do this, it'd be better.
Better my way.
The problem is that this is the one that's been approved by the giant monolith above me, so this is what I'm going to be making.
And that's one of the most important things, is you have to realize who holds the money.
Yeah.
It's management.
Yeah. So, not to, like, abruptly end a great conversation, but we've been recording for like an hour and 10 minutes so far. Okay, so I don't know if we want to do like any amount of final thoughts or at all.
Do you want one final thing?
Sure, if you have one final thing, then.
So your advice to either a current student or a prospective student, and you cannot say take programming and design.
So advice.
Don't take programming.
Don't take.
Your advice, just a piece of advice that you would want to share to either a prospective student or to a current student who is a sophomore or junior going into their junior or senior year.
Ask me again in 2 months.
I'm feeling the same way, but I feel like mine is more just in general, like about having a good work ethic and also like managing your time well. So you don't. It's just leaving. So you don't die, or so you don't feel like you're dying from trying to figure out everything. And if you don't understand something, do not hesitate to go ask your teachers, because they want you to succeed. So
most of us.
well, like,
That's why you're looking forward to the senior project.
Does not
you're
want
gonna
you to
fail.
succeed in inverted Unix.
I've been loving them all semester. Today is the day I start hating them.
Oh boy, that went dark real quick. Okay, so manage your
Sorry.
time wisely, get good sleep. That's Josh's advice.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Don't tell yourself you're not gonna procrastinate. Just figure out how to procrastinate wisely.
Yeah.
It's not bad advice.
That's
Yeah.
That piece of advice got Deoko a C in his speech class. Not because he procrastinated, because he gave a speech to that effect, and it didn't go over very well. I thought it was great.
I wish I'd heard that.
The teacher was not too happy about that. I actually got an email or two from the teacher about that speech because she wasn't sure if
Like, I know
Daniel was
Sanchez had to
taking it
sit in on that
seriously
one
or if
to
he
make
was
sure he was
just
being taken seriously.
No, well, so all
And he
he talked kind of silly beforehand, but in the end, the result of the speech I thought was pretty solid.
no,
pretty
good.
Anyway, but
Piece of advice, yeah.
Spring semester is the hardest. Be prepared.
Amen.
That's the first thing that comes to my mind.
Okay.
Get an internship. They're awesome.
Did you get an internship
Yeah, an internship.
right now? You're on it? You didn't switch that up for your senior project?
Is that a possibility?
No. Depends on the internship.
The
I
dictator says
could have
no.
sworn you told me.
No, I was trying to switch it
Sam,
out for class.
Any advice?
I guess this is just computers in general. I know they say these days, like, college is about teaching how to find the right answers. That really applies with computers because, and not necessarily because someone wrote the right answer out there, you'll discover very quickly that the internet is full of a bunch of jerks who think you should know the answer to the question already. And they'll let you know that and then not let you know the answer. But somewhere out there, the person that put in their time to make this thing wrote documentation because the type of people who have the patience to make something like them also have the patience to write the user manual for it. And like, it's kind of an oddly specific piece of advice I guess I'm coming down to, but learn to read the documentation that the developers write because that's where the answer will be somehow.
This applies specifically to programming, right? It doesn't apply to Microsoft's general computer advice.
Oh yes, no. Like the developers. Yeah, it's like that's actually a very good point. Yeah. So well, I mean, like if you can say who built this, that person probably has pretty good documentation, and there's an awful lot of stuff that you're going to be using that you can say this person built this. But yeah, no, the Microsoft help stuff is. It's
not as helpful as we wish it would be.
Yeah. But again, I will say there's an awful lot of stuff you'll be using that you can identify. Here is the user manual. Here is the man page with everything. Learn how to read that kind of documentation. Because when Stack Exchange fails you, when the Linux forum is full of Linux users, then you will be able to find the answers from the person who actually made the thing.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys all for your advice, and thank you all for being here tonight. Josh, thank you very much for doing this podcast this semester.
Yeah.
And I'll turn
so, so this is the final episode.
Fanfare!
Stop it! I wasn't supposed to get all emotional, but I'm starting to. But anyway, I know I say a lot of like thank yous down in the description and whatnot for all the people who are in this episode, but I also want to thank everyone who helped with this and helped make it possible. Like everyone for all the support, because it's been a rough time.
It's been a hard semester.
Yeah. Also, interjection. I say this a lot in the description, but also thank you, Seth, for editing my audio. I say in the description, but I also want to verbally say that, so that's interjection.
Subscribe to our channel, please.
Yeah. So if you want to bookmark it or be tuned in for another year where this might happen, or if I don't know if I should even include that.
Feel free. We're going to try and make it happen again next semester. It might be a little bit different.
Yeah, it might be a little bit different, but if you want to see any more content that I make, I do have a YouTube channel. I'll link that down in the description. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and the series, give it a big thumbs up, and you can click over by Mr. Elliot's face to subscribe to this channel, and you can click over by us to see the previous video. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Yes.
Well done, Josh. Well done.
End the recording.